most eloquently voiced rational opinion on the internet about pop culture, obviously. I have a bunch of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr...
What a fat fucking weirdo!
Dutchman versus The Punisher Season 2.
Hi. Have you noticed that my face is considerably less fat than it used to be in 2017? I can't believe Punisher Season 1 was 2017. What have they been doing all fucking year? Anyway, 2018 was a trip and a half, wasn't it? Welcome to a brand new year of Dutchtica, where I'm gonna try and keep making videos. I've not said this in the past, but I'm not gonna pretend and say I'm the biggest Punisher fan there is out there, because, well, I'm not. I don't own any of the comics, I don't own any of the trades, and I can't say that the character holds any special, place in my personal fandom of the Marvel trifecta, or whatever you can think of, really. That being said, I have always enjoyed a bit of Punisher, like the Thomas Jane Punisher film, that was quite good. Punisher Warzone is a brilliant schlockfest of a shoot-'em-up film. The first season of Punisher, I quite like that, but now we've come to Netflix's season 2 of The Punisher, and having looked at the previous Netflix series, we already know that Iron Fist is cancelled, Daredevil is cancelled, Luke Cage is cancelled. This is probably going to be the last season of Punisher, and I am quite upset at that, not just because of the fact they've cancelled it, or going to cancel it. This is not a good place for Frank to end up on, in my opinion. I really did not like this season of The Punisher, okay? And I'm gonna try and eloquently explain to you why this is... Okay, so, spoilers for Punisher Season 1. If you haven't seen Punisher Season 1 and you're trying to get into this, that's a bit daft to begin with, but regardless, this is your warning. Billy Russo is Jigsaw. He's the primary antagonist of this series. There is another villain in John Pilgrim, who is based on the Jason Aaron run in the Punisher comics. There's also, I lost the name of the people. there's a senator whose parents are like this evil mafia people. Yeah. So it's like two separate villainous antagonists driving the plot, basically. This season, think Leon the Professional, think Logan. You have the Punisher, Frank Castle, and he's saddled up with a younger lady called Amy, and Amy is the girl who all the villains are after, except Billy Russo. This series starts off with Frank Castle, out of the Punisher life. He's trying to figure out what he's trying to do, try and become happy, picking up girls in bars, drinking his sorrows away, that kind of stuff. And you're sitting there, you're waiting, like, okay, this series is called The Punisher, so there's got to be something that triggers, pardon the pun, bringing him back into the fray, into his war zone, as to say. But, right, so that's this girl, Amy, who's played alright, but Amy is like a replacement in a way, like how Microchip or Chip or David in season 1 was the guy more grounded, more set in reality compared to Frank Castle. Here that character role is played by Amy, and that's not bad to say. Like, you can have like a young girl on the run from a criminal organization because of whatever reason. It is a good concept that the Punisher is saddled with having to protect her. Oh boy, unfortunately we're left with a series where she's mostly locked up in a trailer, which makes most of her character very superfluous. There is an arc for Frank, right? But I've never personally was drawn in by his chemistry with Amy. So what we're left is two characters not really getting along very well, which always happens in these matters, and me just sitting there like, this is the Punisher, right? The guy who beats up the bad guys. Instead, rather, most of the series is actually more focused on Billy Russo. Billy Russo has become Jigsaw, and if you know Jigsaw from the comics, he's quite literally, his face is a patchwork map. Here he has a few scars. I'm not gonna say like, oh, this is horrible, this is a bit naff, it's not true to the character. No. He's got quite some deep scars, and it's quite severe. Like, if you saw him on the bus, you would leave this person alone. And they've given him a mask for his therapy, and I quite like the mask, which he had to decorate himself. It gives him quite a villainous vibe. And he suffers from amnesia as well. This is where his name as Jigsaw is more driving the plot. Because of his traumas, he's got suppressed memories about the events, how he got so scarred. And he is the one that is having most of the plot development or set around him. We spend a lot of time with Billy Russo, and that's not a bad thing per se, except that in the end you'd expect him to butt heads with Frank, like reaching a crescendo, the peak of the series as it were, towards the end, where, you know, Frank's arc and his arc would meet, and then the resolvement would eventually be like, okay, spoiler warning. Still here? Good. Okay. Billy Russo goes out very anticlimactically. He gets shot, he gets operated on by a back alley surgeon, he nearly bleeds out in a dumpster, and then Frank just finds him, puts a couple of rounds in him. That's it. And it's not even Frank that initially shoots him. It's the big climax of the story is rather left instead with the secondary villain, John Pilgrim. And John Pilgrim, they give him a nice little vibe, like he's this super religious hitman, which is, it's just a nice touch. And he's got a family, he's got sons, and he beats himself, self-flagellation, all that. That's terrific, but it gives him like an air, but he's nothing really. He's nothing of note. It's just a gimmick. It's not a character. He doesn't have any conflicting ideologies with Frank. He doesn't have any history with Frank. He's just kind of there to kidnap the girl, and that's it. They fight, and I'm not gonna tell you how that ends, but the actual resolvement of that plot with Amy is without John Pilgrim. So it's like he could have been anybody. He could have been a random hitman. He is a random hitman. We've spoken before about Marvel Netflix having seasons mandated to have 13 episodes. Let's call it a mandate. Let's call it a mandate for convenience sake. Right, so because of the format, you have like a few key episodes and a lot of slow burner drama. And for some people that's not a bad thing. Like Jessica Jones is more focused on drama rather than fighting the bad guy, because that's never what Jessica Jones was about. Iron Fist, on the other hand, shouldn't be moping around all the time. Punisher should be shooting at bad guys, but he doesn't get to do that. We focus so much on Billy Russo and his therapy and his, creating a gang and starting a gang war, and on Amy being trapped in a trailer. And so you're asking me, are the action scenes at the very least good? I'm like, okay, so think Punisher. What do you think of the Punisher? Well, you can see it right there. The Punisher is about guns. And I'm not like a gun nut. I'm not like a pro-gun advocate. Punisher's superpower is his guns. He's got guns and he shoots people. That's his thing. That's his bag. That's his gimmick. That's his deal. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's something about Netflix's budget, or they could not afford the guns, so they wanted him to be more physical, because there's very little actual gunplay in this series. in this season at the very least. I can only think of one climactic shootout, which was in a motel, which was brilliant and very tense. And there was a scene on the street where Billy Russo is hunting down Frank Castle. That's okay. But aside from that, Frank Castle walks into a trap, knowingly walks into a trap. You're like, if I know it's a trap, then they won't be expecting it. You know, that kind of deal, the things that good guys do all the time. Except he doesn't bring any guns. That doesn't sound like the Punisher to me. There's quite a lot of fist fights in this series, and I'm not quite sure I like that. It does give us some brutal beatdowns, but it's not what I expect from the Punisher. Maybe I've fallen out of love with the Marvel series Netflix has put out. Maybe I already know that this series, as well as Jessica Jones, will probably end up cancelled, just like Iron Fist, Daredevil and Luke Cage. Maybe I'm just very cynical, but I really did not enjoy this season of the Punisher. And I'm sad to see Frank go on such a low note. Yeah, glad I got that off my chest. Let me know what you think, because I need you to correct me, because this was probably the best season of anything Netflix has ever done before in their lives. This is probably the best interpretation of Frank Castle ever, but you need to tell me in the comments down below, because that's what these things are for. You know, insulting my general appearance, because, you know, I shaved like last week and I've now gone back to like this quasi stubble, but I miss my goatee. Maybe I don't care. There's social medias, don't bother with that, don't subscribe. We're gonna fight YouTube's algorithm by slacking off. That's what we're gonna do. So yeah, see you next time.
Okay.